All right, welcome back to another episode of the TradeMarke Podcast. Today we are joined with Rich Harshaw of Level 10 Contractor, and we're super excited. I've known Rich for, a long time.
Probably 10 years. Probably 10 years.
It has been 10 years. I know I wasn't going to date myself, but it has been 10 years. And super excited to talk about all things about brand identity, talk about his book that really actually helped me a lot in learning identity and SEO. And the best thing I think I can say about Level 10 Contractor was the coaching and the guidance that they gave me as I was learning about SEO and as I was growing my role in the trades. And I will be forever grateful for you and your team for that, Rich. So,
well, thank you. If I'm not mistaken, you used to work at Service Champions in Northern California, because there's distinction. There's a Southern one. And I believe we were on your website while you were there. And I think did you head up that project?
I did head up that project. That was a beast of a project. Let me be honest.
Hundreds of pages, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, lots of them. All right, so before we get started, let's just go ahead and run the intro, and then we'll jump in.
Step into the TradeMarke, your go-to podcast for everything marketing in the trades. Hosted by award-winning industry marketing experts Sarah Ghirardo from Remarketable and Eric Thomas from Rival Digital. Together, we're here to unite the worlds of trades and marketing, bringing you insights, stories, and strategies from the heart of the industry. Whether you're a trade professional, a marketing expert, or somewhere in between, this is the place for you. Listen in as we're here for the big ideas, the game changers, and the everyday successes. Because at the TradeMarke, we're with the trades and for the trades.
All right, Rich, let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about you and all the great things that you do for the trades.
Yeah, my company's called Level 10 Contractor. We're an agency that works with remodeling and home services contractors. I've been in business for 30 years. 20 of those years have been specifically with contractors. I started working with a company in 2011 called Horizon Services. They're on the East Coast. I think a fairly well-known group in this industry. At the time, they were doing about $44 million. They hired me to help tell their story better. And I was also responsible for getting them heavily into radio and TV, which proved to be valuable. I think about 7 years later, they sold out for, I don't know, it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
They got up to about 150 million in revenue. Meanwhile, while I was working with those guys, they were doing a peer group, which is where I met Leland Smith at Service Champions South, not to be confused with the Service Champions North, as previously mentioned. And that was 2015. Started working with those guys. They then got investment from private equity. They're now up to roughly 20 brands. I still work with those folks. I don't work with Horizon. I haven't for several years, but that's kind of been my experience in the HVAC industry. In the remodeling side, I've worked with some big companies, Renewal by Andersen, Hanson's, and many others. But my bread and butter with my company, Level 10 Contractor, is we work with companies in the $5 to $20 million range is our sweet spot. Our biggest client, I think, is about $109 million last year. Mm-hmm. Our smallest client, probably 2 or 3 million, but the majority of them in that 5 to 20 range. We build websites, we do SEO, TV, radio, OTT, digital advertising. Those are the services we offer.
Wow. Okay, so you've expanded services, or you've always had them, and we probably just didn't tap into that genius. But the SEO services were something that were spectacular to me, like I said, because the connections that I had to the team that you have there, they really helped mentor me and help me understand what SEO is. And I think, let's just start at the bare basics. What is SEO?
Yeah, so this is a subject that there's a lot of, I don't even want to say misunderstanding. It's just that people don't know, they don't understand how it works. So I guess it's a misunderstanding. It's maybe a sort of an ignorance. It's a negative word, but it's like, if I just don't know. So let's start with the basics. Most people think, hey, we go out, we pay somebody to build us a website. It's got 30, 40, 50 pages on it. It says that we do, heating and air conditioning, and insulation, whatever the things are that they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some galleries, some reviews, the normal stuff on a website. And they think, okay, here's this site. Now it's new and it's beautiful and it's awesome. So now we're just going to start ranking somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, and then they hear all these sales pitches, right? It's like, we'll help you rank on the first page in the first 30 days and stuff like that. But that's not really actually how it works. Google doesn't rank websites, which a lot of people hear that and they're like, what do you mean? Of course, Google ranks websites. No, Google ranks web pages.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a massive distinction, because if you can take that as the very first principle, here's what you need to know. You've got to create individual pages on your website that are a precise match for things that people are searching for in specific places. So we call this geo keyword pair. Geo keyword pair. Okay. So for instance, I work with a lot of companies in California, in Orange County. If you want to rank for HVAC, you create a website. You're like, okay, we're going to rank for HVAC in Orange County. No, you're not. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to create specific pages for air conditioning repairs in Brea, air conditioning repairs in Fullerton, another page for air conditioning repairs in Irvine. There's 52 cities in Orange County.
Yeah, and that's a lot of landing pages.
Well, so how many geo keyword pairs? Let's say that you have AC repair, AC replacement, AC tune-ups, and then you'll have the same three things for heaters, furnace. Okay, there's 6 keywords. And now let's say you've got 52 geos, which you probably have more than that, but that's how many cities happen to be in Orange County. So let's do the math here. I got my calculator. 52 times 6, you got 312 geo keyword pairs. 312. And guess how many pages you need to have for each of those geo keyword pairs? Answer, probably 3 to 10. Let's say 5. Okay, now we're up to 1,500 pages.
Good Lord.
We haven't even started installation. And this is how Google works. Google says, hey, here's a person in Fullerton, California that's searching for AC repair. So it looks in the entire universe of web pages that exist, and it says, okay, which pages are optimized for AC repair, specifically for Irvine. Here's what happens. You get a company that says, oh, we've got our website and it targets Orange County. Well, guess what? You're going to lose every single time to the company that has those specifically optimized pages. So that's a little bit unnerving for people to hear, because they go, well, man, we got to have all these pages.
Yeah.
But that's just how it works. So, well, I don't like the way it works. Well, it doesn't really matter if you like the way it works. Yeah. This is why when we worked with you guys, the reason that all of that works so well is because you guys already had a lot of those pages. We came in and we kind of upgraded the technology and made the website work functionally better. But then we just started adding more and more and more pages. And guess what? You destroy your competitors who don't either understand that or don't know that or aren't executing it properly.
Yeah. And then Brian told me to add diggable links. And he was like really into that. And so I was like, okay, well, let's test it. You know, like, what's the theory here? And everything I think that we do in marketing is a test and then an iteration, right? It's like, cool, does this work or does this not? Now, having that many landing pages, it's great for those nearby searches, for what people are actually searching for. It is heavy on a website if it's done wrong. That's the thing. And it's not like it was done wrong. It just, like, the heavier your website is, the more you have to optimize it for speed, because it's the speed of search. Am I right or am I wrong?
Okay, so you're right. And also we're talking about like 2 or 3 different, obviously related, but different things. So does your website need to be fast? Of course it does. Google has stated this. It's not a secret in the black box of the algorithm. Your website needs to be faster, particularly on mobile devices. Okay.
Right.
But here's what you got to understand. Let's say that you've got a website that scores 95% on speed test, which is really, really good. And meanwhile, another company has one that scores 40% on speed test. Okay. So that's bad. Now, the guy in Irvine is searching for AC repair, and the slow site has an AC repair that's properly optimized on it. And the one that's really fast doesn't have a similar page that's optimized for AC repair in Irvine. The fast website will lose because it doesn't have a page that's specifically what that person is looking for.
It's not relevant to the search, right? And it doesn't give them the CTA to convert, is what you're saying, to that page.
Yeah. So let me give you an analogy. It's kind of a crude analogy, but go with me. The analogy is that SEO is like war. Okay, that's a little brutal. Well, stick with me. Here's what that means. If you go to fight a war, like think of World War II, you had the European battlefronts, you had the Pacific theater. You don't just go fight the whole freaking war. You strategically figure out which battles you need to put troops in, and then you deploy the troops accordingly. SEO is similar in that you have to determine what battles you want to fight. Do you want to fight for air conditioning repair in Irvine, or do you want to fight for air conditioning repair in Fullerton? And you say, well, I want both. Well, great. Then you got to create troops and put them into both of those battles. Or, like we said earlier, hundreds of battles. So the first thing you have to do, this is more important than anything else. You have to have the troops in the battle. Number two, those troops have to be properly optimized. I've seen tons of websites. I will not mention any of my competitors' names that were created by competitive companies where they say, okay, here's all, we have a page for this and this and this, this geo keyword pair. But then you go look at the page and it's not sending the right signals to Google. And here's what the right signals are. That geo keyword pair, like air conditioning repair, Irvine as an example, that has to be in the URL of that page. It has to be in the H1 or the first header of the page. It has to be in the name of the photos that are on the page. Most photos names are like X43827. Like Google doesn't know what that is. It's got to be in the content of the page. There's got to be a map on the page for that city. And then Google sees all of these things and goes, oh, this must be a page that's for this city and this thing. Great. So number one, you got to put the troop in the battle. The page has to exist. Number two, it has to be optimized properly. And then after that, okay, then it's a matter of how good is the content? Is it actually good that people want to read it? Then you get into some of that things you just mentioned, Sarah. Digability. Are we linking to other things? Because in reality, here's the number one thing that Google looks for. I'm going to reveal it right here on your podcast today.
Let's go.
The number one thing that Google's looking at for somebody who actually comes to your website is how long do they stay? Imagine this. You create a page. It's properly optimized, but the content's not really very interesting. There's content, but it's kind of like written by ChatGPT or by, some dude in a foreign country or something. And it just isn't interesting. So Google puts that link into the rankings because, hey, this is optimized for this thing in this place where this person's searching. And 100 people go to that page and 100 of them hit the back button because it's boring. Well, Google looks at that and says, clearly people don't like. Why would Google continue to send people to that page? If Google knows that people hate that page, and the answer is it won't. It won't. So yeah. And then also the site has to be quick.
Right. There's a lot of different ranking factors, but helpful content will always be primary, right? Like if they're searching for something and then they get something that's not relevant, then it's not relevant.
And if the guy is searching for air conditioner repair in Irvine and you don't have that page, and if you do have the page and it's not properly optimized, you're going to lose. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Can I dispel a myth?
Yeah.
Here's the myth.
Okay.
This comes up I get asked this all the time. Oh, no, Rich, it's backlinks. You got to have backlinks.
Yes, please.
Okay. Look, nobody has a problem with backlinks. Here's the problem. I don't have a problem with the concept of backlinks, but here's the problem, practically speaking. Okay, you're a local air conditioning company. What important, relevant backlinks are you going to get coming into your website? Doesn't matter which ones are going out. It matters which ones are coming in. Let's see. Maybe I'm a Lennox dealer, and Lennox will link from their website to my page. Okay, great. That's good. What else? Oh, geez. We won an award for an industry thing. Okay, great. What else? We wrote an article at the local newspaper. No, you didn't. It's easy to say that, but nobody wrote that article. There's no link coming from that newspaper. What links are you going to get for local SEO, which is everybody listening to this podcast is engaged in local SEO. You're not a big national company trying to sell widgets and digits. You're a local company. You've got to have the troops in the battle, properly optimized with good content. End of story. You will win with those three things. You'll win.
Yeah.
Here's how I know. We audit websites all the time. We audit them on a scale of 1 to 100. The average score is 27. 27. What if your kid brought home a 27 on the report card?
Yeah.
I got 6 kids. If they brought home 27s, I would have no kids because I would just kill them all. I'm joking. I wouldn't kill my kids. But, you know, I would like it. That's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, 27.
So if we audit websites and they're 27, here's what I know. Companies are not doing that. Everything I just said, they don't do it. They just don't. Well, no, you don't understand, Rich. We spend a lot of money on it. It doesn't matter. You're not doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like contractors don't know what they don't know, right? They go into SEO, and I think we can transition to this question because it's a really big one. The question that I want you to answer is, how do I evaluate an SEO company? Like, what questions do I ask? Because again, contractors don't know what they don't know. And like, where do I even begin? It's like, I hear these things of, okay, I need a website. Well, how big of a website do I need? And I know you just said a bunch of landing pages, but you know, that's a additional service. So what comes first? Like, what do I do first? Like, first, what do I ask in evaluating SEO providers? Like, what am I looking for?
Okay, so we're going to talk about, so there's a core website that has core pages on it. Like I said earlier, that's going to be your pages about air conditioning, heating, duct work, whatever you have. Okay. I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to circle back to it later. Okay. But beyond that, there's 2 kinds of pages that are what I call special forces troops. These are the ones that are actually driving traffic. The first one is a service area page, which is what I just talked about. Okay. Which is the Irvine air conditioning repair page, the Irvine heating replacement page. Okay. Then there's blog pages. Everybody's heard of blogs. Hey, do you have a blog on your website? Yeah. Why? I don't know. They said we needed one. Okay, but why do you need one? And the answer is, the blog's job is to create geo keyword optimized content for longer tail keywords. For instance, the same guy that was searching for air conditioning repair in Irvine. That's the example I've been using. Now what we're going to do is we're going to assume that he has a different search. His search is how much does it cost to repair or replace my air conditioner? Google knows that he's in Irvine because of the IP address. So now we've got this longer tail keyword. How much does it cost? So we've got to create content against that longer tail keyword. How much does it cost to repair air conditioner in Irvine? That's a blog that will drive traffic. Okay. All of that is a setup to answer your question. So you got 3 kinds of pages. You've got the core pages, then you got the service area pages, then you got the blog pages. The last 2 are the ones that are driving traffic. How do you evaluate? Very, very simple. Have a conversation with them about geo keyword pairs. I know I went through this fast. Go back and watch this again. And here's what you want to do. You want to say, show me some of the sites that you've done. And here's what you're not looking for. You're not looking for how pretty it is. You're not looking for how warm and fuzzy it makes you feel. You want to go in there and you want to look at their service area pages. And you want to see, A, do they exist? B, are they optimized properly? Is the geo keyword pair in the URL? Is it in the first header? Is the name in the pictures? The geo keyword pair, is it in the picture name? Is it in the content? Is there the map on the page like it's supposed to be? If there is, those pages will work, generally speaking. If not, then they won't. And if you find a company that says, hey, we're a good SEO company, and they're not creating those kinds of pages, or if they're optimizing them poorly, then you know that they suck. It's just that simple. I'll give you a really common problem that we see. This is probably the most common problem. A company will create blogs and they will not geo optimize them. So it'll be like 4 ways to check your air conditioner at the start of the season. Okay. And then, it's got 800 words and it's well written. And nowhere in that whole blog does it say anything about Irvine. And so Google looks at that blog and goes, I don't know where this is relevant. So it doesn't ever show it to anybody.
Right.
Or it's optimized for Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's better than no geo optimization, but it's not as good as Irvine or
Right.
Fullerton or Brea or Anaheim or the specific city. So this is what you've got to look for, is how precise are they at identifying the geo keyword pairs that are important to you, and then creating the content and putting it on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds a little hard and a little bit nerdy. It's like, I'm a nerd. I'm not a nerd. I don't know how to do that stuff. It's literally as simple as going to their blog, a website that this company does, and say, hey, this is our work. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. Let me go to the blog and let me see if they've got geo optimized blogs or not.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go to their service area pages and see if, number one, if they exist, and number two, if they're optimized properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But really, here's what you should do. You should say, show me the actual live client dashboard of your clients. And I don't care how many clicks they're getting. I don't care how much traffic they're getting. I don't care about any of that. Here's what I want to know. How many quotable leads are they getting from this endeavor called SEO? Quotable leads. A quotable lead is not a lead. A raw lead is including people that are trying to sell you toner cartridges, or customers that looked you up on the internet and came through, some kind of a organic page. I'm talking about actual leads, people that want to quote. That's where the rubber hits the road. Show me the quotable leads. And guess what? Most of these companies don't do it. Sarah, I'm going to say something to you that you won't believe, and your listeners won't believe, and you'll look at me like I'm an idiot.
Okay.
I'm going to say it anyway. This industry really, really sucks. The SEO industry. I'm not saying that the companies are fraudulent. I'm saying that on average, they don't perform well. And then what they do is they blame it on the algorithm.
Mm.
Oh, well, hey, the algorithm changed. What do you expect? The algorithm didn't change. Google is going to send people to pages that it knows what is on that page and where that page is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, I think SEO companies are, what I've learned is that they have opportunity in the relationship. They have opportunity in education, and they have opportunity in maintaining their growth. So some grow really fast, and the templates become, they leave them as to what they are. And then they have a long list of services that they provide throughout the month that no one understands. And so that's where it goes back to the education part. What does this mean that you're providing me? And where is the negotiation of what I need to do? Because what I had to learn was, hey, I have this SLA. You gave me this amount of hours of work that would be done. This is the work that is scheduled to be done. But I had to say, okay, well, what was worth more of creating a new landing page for a geo or putting out a new blog? And so, because, I only have so much in a budget. And so I had to do the trade-offs monthly to think about what's the strategy here as I built out a new website. Once you build out a new website, it's I have to promote the website. I have to speak about the website. I have to point them to the website. I have to, there's so much more to do than just having a website.
Well, if you do everything we've been talking about properly, Google will do all your talking for you. Not that you shouldn't have other advertising driving people to your site. Of course you should.
Right.
But Google will shill for you. That's its job. Mm-hmm. But let me speak to what you just said. Okay. Here's what we do for our clients that's completely different. We sit down with them at the beginning of the year. So let's say you come on with us, we build you a new website, we're going to do your SEO. We sit down with you and go, okay, we're going to create 10 geo keyword optimized pages per month for a year. That's going to be 100 pages. I know math would say it's 120, but we actually don't create content every 6 months. We don't create content because we go back and we optimize to make sure everything's working right.
Right.
But we're going to create 100 pages. Here's what we do. We create a live document that you can follow from right now until the end of time that shows, here's the plan for where we're going to put, the geo keyword pair that we're going to optimize for. And is it going to be a service area page or is it going to be a blog page? We tend to do about 2/3 service area pages to 1/3 blogs, especially early, the first 2 or 3 years of the relationship. Okay. So here's what that means. You're going to go into this relationship with knowing that there's 100 pages that are going to be built. You know exactly what pages they are going to be. And then you're going to watch them be built in real time, and you can track them if they're, when they went live, when they were reviewed, et cetera, et cetera. I've asked hundreds of companies that come to us, asking us to help them do this. Hey, does the company you're working with now, do you have a content plan? No. What are you getting for your money? We're not sure.
Mm-hmm.
How are they even doing anything? And then they say what you just said, Sarah. Oh, well, we sit down with them every month and we just kind of decide what we think we should do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, let me tell you this. There's no universe that exists where creating geo keyword optimized content is a bad idea. That does not exist.
Right.
You're not going to run out of things to create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, we create that content plan. Look, there's other parts of it. There's optimizations that are done on a monthly basis and on a every 6-month basis. But the core thing is creating the pages, putting them on there.
Mm-hmm.
You should see this a year in advance.
Yeah. And I think like it needs to be connected to all of the vendors that you have. So one thing that I've really learned is honing in. If I have an SEO company and I have a PPC company and they're separate, I need them to connect at the same time. And if I have a media company, if I have a social person, because I'm creating a whole strategy, I'm not just creating a one piece here or one piece there, and then like it's totally disconnected. And I found a lot of disconnection, but mainly it becomes the disconnection in A, how do I get started? B, I had no idea I needed to create a full marketing strategy. And because I'm a business owner, right? Like I'm not a marketer. So like we lean a lot on our agencies. And that, I think when we lean in too much, we don't really understand the practical, like the use cases of what we should be doing when it comes to marketing just in general. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think you hit a pretty important nail on the head, which is, everything I've talked about on this podcast, I've given you 87% of everything you need to know about SEO. Now, maybe you could watch a webinar that I did or listen to a podcast I did where it lays it out a little bit more, A to Z strategically, because we kind of been jumping around a little bit here. But I only need you to understand about 45 minutes to an hour's worth of information before you at least you can look at what we're doing and understand what it is we're doing and why we're doing it the way we're doing it. And you can judge it against this set of information. I think a lot of times people just blindly go to their agency and they're like, okay, we'll just do it.
Yeah.
In fact, I know that's almost always what's happening. It's like, okay, we started doing business with a company that did $109 million in sales last year, or earlier this year. Their previous agency didn't know or do any of this. And so they just had a complete mess. Mm-hmm. Now you overlay that with, okay, what about your pay-per-click agency? Mm-hmm. What about your media buying agency? And realistically, I tell my clients, you're going to be better off condensing as much of this as you can into one agency. Now that does give you a certain level of risk. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, let's spread it across different vendors. Let's find the best in class for each of these things. Well, that makes sense. But, that leads us into another whole topic, which I know this is a topic that you're familiar with. It's what we call identity at Level 10 Contractor. Identity is communicating who you are, how you're different, why you're better, mm-hmm. what people can expect when they do business with you, and communicating in a compelling way, a storytelling way. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, and this is my opinion, and I think I'm right, but it's my opinion. If you've got a strong identity that you're communicating, you want to integrate that into as many different pieces of your marketing as possible. So you don't want to have a media agency that's creating TV ads for you that's not pulling from the same identity that your pay-per-click or your SEO agency is pulling from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's where I think like the whole content strategy, even if like you're SEO agency is providing you one, you can take that to your media agency, or you could have one source, and all of your eggs in one basket. And I think that's probably the fear. Like, I have all of my eggs in one basket, and can they be the expert at everything? Like, there's no way. Like, that just doesn't happen. But at the same time, they can have lines of experts in their businesses as their agency to run those different departments. And I totally see that. But identity plays such a big role because it starts the content strategy. It speaks, it speaks to your brand. And so, like, how does one go up with coming up with an identity and then continuing to speak about it?
Okay, so when I first started working with Horizon Services in 2011, it's been a minute. I remember my first meeting with Mark Aiken, who was the co-owner at the time. He's since moved on. And he said, one of the things he said, it was hilarious. He said, "Hey, we paid $100,000 to a marketing research firm," and he had this giant 3-ring binder. And he said, "We wanted to find out what's important to people when it comes to HVAC." And I looked at him and I went, "You paid $100,000 for that?" He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because we wanted to know." And I looked at him and I went, "But you're an HVAC company. It's obvious what people want. They want the guy to show up when he says he'll be there. They want him to do the job right. They don't want him to have to go back to the warehouse 8 times to get parts. They want the job to cost the same amount that they were quoted. They don't want the guy to look like a felon who comes into their house that might kill their children." Mm. Like, it's pretty easy to know. And sure enough, guess what was in this big fat binder? Those exact conclusions. So right. Here's what you've got to do. You got to look at your business and go, okay, what is it that we do that makes us unique and different? What is it that we lean into? And then how do we want to communicate that? So when I went through this with Horizon, one of the things that they were very, very big on at the time, I can't speak for them now, was they had an on-time or free guarantee. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so they would say, if we're even 1 minute late, then you don't pay. Okay. So that's an interesting thing, but here's how you take it from a concept to an identity. It's all in the storytelling, because you've got to bring the stuff alive for people so that they really pay attention and it sinks in. So I remember a radio ad we wrote. It went something like this, not exactly like this, because I'm going off of memory. It's been several years, but it was Mark Aiken. He comes on the radio and he goes, "Do you hate to wait? I do. I can't stand it. If I go to the doctor's office and they make me sit in that little room wearing the gown for more than 2 or 3 minutes, I put my clothes back on and I get out of there. I can't stand to wait. If I go to a restaurant and I've got a reservation and they make me wait for even 1 minute, I leave. I will not tolerate waiting at all. I can't stand it." And when I built this company, Horizon Services, started, 22 years ago or whatever the number was, I vowed that my customers would never have to endure that intolerable wait when you call the AC guy and he says he'll be there between 1 and 5. And then what happens? It's 3:30. He's not there. It's 4:30. It's 5 o'clock. He's still not there. You took the whole afternoon off from work. And now it's 5:30. The guy rings your doorbell and he's taking his own life and is risking his own life by ringing your doorbell. Yeah. At Horizon Services, you will never wait. We have an on-time or free guarantee. If we're even 1 minute late, you will not pay. And people hear that and they're like, "Holy crap, this dude's serious."
Yeah.
And it works. Now, I went over to Service Champions. 4 years after I started with Horizon, I go over to Service Champions and I'm, they're like, "Okay, identity. We want to really lean into this." Okay, well, let me give you some examples from Horizon. And they immediately threw a flag. They're like, whoa. We don't do that thing where it's 1 minute late or it's free. Mm-hmm. We don't want to say that. We would never say that. Why? Is it because you're not on time? No. We're normally on time, but we're not. That's not something we're prepared to do. Great. So what is it you're prepared to do? Well, here's what I found out. This was Service Champions Southern California, not North, where you guys were, Sarah. Mm-hmm. They said, for us, we got a little bit older clientele. It's all about the technician. Well, what do you mean? Well, our technicians, we only hire friendly people. We put them through friendliness training. If somebody is technically capable, but they're not friendly, we won't hire them. Mm-hmm. And we have grooming standards. They can't have facial hair. They can't have visible tattoos. They can have tattoos, but they have to cover them. They can't have piercings. And I went, okay, that's a whole different vibe. Mm-hmm. So then here's the radio ad that comes from that. Hey, this is Leland Smith at Service Champions, and I want you to know if a technician isn't friendly, we'll never hire him in the first place. We've got a 7-point checklist that we use to evaluate new technicians. The very first one is, are you friendly? And we've got tests that we run to show if they're friendly, including things that they don't even know we're judging them on. And I'm going to tell you this, if they're not absolutely friendly, the kind of person that I would send to my own mother's house, we'll never hire them. They'll never even get a second interview. Yep. Of course, they need to be technically competent. We always check for that, obviously. But if they're not friendly, they'll never show up at your house in a Service Champions uniform. And people hear that and they go, oh, well, that sounds like the kind of guy that I want to show up at my house to fix my air conditioner. Then we coined the phrase world's friendliest technicians, and we trademarked it. So we started putting that out there and on and on and on. So it's about storytelling. Now, so let's say you do this and you go, okay, let's figure out what our story is. And you start finding the story, you start telling the stories. Well, that's now going to go into your radio and TV. It's also going to go into your website. It's going to go into your blog posts. And so here's what happens. Remember that Irvine air conditioning repair page? Well, here's what you got to understand about that. If a guy's sitting in Irvine and he types into his Google air conditioning repair, and we've done our job properly, and our page now shows up, the very first thing that person will ever see is that specific page. So we've got to treat that page like the prospect knows nothing about us. So of course we do air conditioning repair, and then guess what we lean immediately into?
The
our
world's
identity.
Technician. Yeah.
We've got the world's friendliest technicians. We have another thing we talk about, which is called slow down and do it right. And how our technicians are not allowed to run more than 3 appointments per day. We won't let them because we don't want them to rush so that they can make more money. We want them to do the job right. And all of this is on that page. And we've got links on that page to our core page that talks about slow down and do it right. Our core page about world's friendliest technicians. And now when that person from Irvine comes to this page, because we've optimized it properly, now they're reading this page and it says, yeah, world's friendliest technicians. Click. It goes to that page. Now what happened? We just increased the dwell time with that link. And Google's looking at this going, wow, people love this stuff. Keep this high in the rankings. But meanwhile, other companies are like, wow, we can't make our SEO work. Well, yeah, I know, because you're not telling any kind of worthwhile story.
Let's talk about words of platitude. You are where I got this from in this book. Yes. I was like, oh, because I always thought about the branding of the simplistic words that we use and how maybe they needed to be changed, but they were so embedded in like the jingle and they were so embedded in other things that it like trustworthy, on time, worry free. Like everybody needs to be trustworthy that comes into your house. On time, yeah, I expect you to be on time. You have a sophisticated CRM that I don't know about as a customer, but you're telling me as I book my appointment that I'll get a job notification that will show me that you're on time. Worry free, like some stranger is coming into my home. Now, with the technician arrival picture, I get to see who's coming into my home, which is awesome. But like words of platitude, like talk about it with me.
This is where the storytelling is so important, because you're right. It's a platitude until you tell the story. Think about what you just said. Oh, we have a scheduling software that helps our technicians get there on time. Okay, let's run that radio ad. Okay, I'll make it up off the top of my head. Okay. Hey, over at Service Champions, we're going to make sure that we're on time. We've got a sophisticated scheduling software that assures that our 300 technicians will always be routed to the right place so they can get there on time. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah. Here's what's better. You know what? If I'm sitting in that doctor's office in that little gown and I have to wait 5 minutes, I put my clothes back on and leave. People hear that and they go, oh, the guy's serious. I don't care about your stupid software. Right. I care about the thing. Now, also pay attention to what's happening in that story. If I'm sitting in the doctor's office in that little room in a gown, stop, pause. Who can relate to that?
Everybody.
Yeah. Everybody. Okay, now continue the ad. If they're not there within 5 minutes, I put my clothes back on. Now, here's what I just did. I introduced the concept of being naked without using the word in a weird but not inappropriate way. And it's interesting. Because everybody, here's what everybody does. They don't picture Mark Aiken sitting in that gown. They picture themselves sitting in that gown. And they're like, holy crap, I've sat in that stupid room for 45 minutes before. I didn't have the gumption to get up and leave. But this
I didn't even know that was an option, right? Like
this guy's talking about leaving half naked. That's amazing. Then we go to the next example. If I have a reservation and I have to wait for more than 2 minutes, and everybody goes, "Oh, I hate when I have to wait for a table." So what I'm doing is I'm taking very common, normal things and I'm overlaying them on what we do, and I'm making the promise, which by itself is a platitude. Hey, we're going to be on time, and I make it believable. Now, guess what we can do? Guess what we can do? Let's say that we run an ad, people see it, that's good. We do SEO, people see this on our website, but now they book the appointment. Now guess what we do? Here's what most companies do. Oh, hey, here's Jeff. He's going to be your technician. Okay, great. I'm all for that, by the way. How about we also send this, a little text that says, let's see, what would that blog say? Why we slow down to do it right. And we send them a link on their text message that tells a story. Why I refuse to sit in the doctor's office for more than 5 minutes in that little gown. Or how about this? I'll even make this better. I won't sit naked in the doctor's office for more than 5 minutes, and I won't make you wait for an AC repairman either. So people see that and they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Click. And then we tell the story. Maybe it's a video of the owner telling that story or a technician telling that story. And now we're reinforcing this with our customers. And this is how we create long-term repeat customers, because we make the promise, we make it in an interesting way. Then our technician comes over, he performs against that promise in an impressive way. And now the customer, think about this. What if we didn't ever say any of that? It was just a normal company. And the guy was supposed to be there at 3 o'clock. He shows up at 3 o'clock. He does the repair. He leaves. I was satisfied. I get no credit for being there on time. They didn't notice it. But if I'm talking about it all over, TV, radio, it's on my website, and then I send this little link, there's another, thing there. Then the guy shows up, and we train the guy to say, it's 3 o'clock. I'm here. We have an on time or it's free guarantee. Let me ask you this. Did I qualify or do I have to give it to you for free? Oh, no, you're on time. Here, sign this. I was on time. Great. They're going to remember it forever.
Yeah. And then they're going to leave it in the review. Well, Jeff was on time.
And by the way, remember, I gave 2 contrasting stories. I said, Horizon did this and Service Champions does not do that. So I don't want anybody listening to this going, well, I don't want to be on time and free. I don't want to talk about being naked in the doctor's office. You don't have to. We never talked about those things ever at Service Champions. But man, you know what we did? We talked about, you know what this is. Good deeds for free. Good deeds for free. Did you guys do that at Service Champions North?
We did a little thing, but it was not as big as good deeds for free. It was a natural part that we didn't speak about. That was just what we did.
If you've got the world's friendliest technicians, does it follow that they might do nice things for the customers? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
We spent 1/3 of every radio and TV ad that we ever created for a certain period of time. It's changed a little bit more recently. Telling stories about good deeds for free. Hey, this is Leland Smith over at Service Champions Plumbing, Heating, and Air. And I want to tell you about Jose, our technician that helped out our client in Irvine, helped her sell her car online. Jose was over at their house doing a tune-up and saw her on the computer. She looked frustrated. He said, hey, what's going on? She said, hey, I'm trying to sell my car. I'm trying to post it online, but I can't get this to work. I don't really know how to do it. My son was supposed to help me, but he never came over. So Jose sat down with her, took him 15 minutes, got the car listed, and she was super grateful. Hey, Jose, thanks for doing a good deed for free. That's what we do here at Service Champions. And people hear that and they're like, wow, these really are nice technicians. And then we tell the story about carrying boxes and taking Christmas lights down and cleaning out gutters and all this stuff.
Yeah. Because the story carries, it resonates. And the other thing is like how cool is like that for Jose, right? Like he's being showcased, which most companies are working towards showcasing their employees, but like leveraging them and knowing that they are the product, right? I think the technicians are the product. If you're selling their service, and if someone doesn't like them when they come into the door, then you won't get the service sold and you will probably get a bad review. But like, I think that the cool thing is that we're showcasing people and people buy from people.
Yeah, well, we would do probably about 15 of those stories a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone that we would do, we hired like a cartoon artist to create a photo, not a photo, a illustration of that technician doing that good deed. Of course, it was dramatized. It wasn't like a photo.
Right.
And then they would hang those on a wall, in their training room. And over time, there was like dozens and then hundreds of these. And it's like, oh, there's mine. There's mine. It was a lot of fun. But now guess what happens? They show up to a random tune-up and they say, hey, thanks for having me out. Let me ask you this. Are you familiar with our Good Deeds for Free program? And then either yes, or maybe they'll say, well, no, I'm not familiar with that. Oh, yeah, well, here's what we do. We like to help people with anything that they have. Is there anything that I can do for you? I could help you move something. I could help you with something technology, something around the house, something in your yard. Is there anything that you need some help with? Oh, no, I'm good. And most people say, oh, no, I'm good. And then we have them looking.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we don't do the good deed for them because they don't need it, we've made that impact. And then we overlay that on what? World's friendliest technicians. We only hire friendly. And over the course of time, it's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what it's more powerful than. Tune up for $89.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, if you are just an offer-based company, you're an offer-based company.
You're training people to buy from you because you're cheap.
Right. And I was like, you want to create a reputation, a genuine experience, a remarkable experience for someone. And that is why they continue to be a lifelong customer. Also because you nurture and ensure that that customer stays a lifelong customer. Right. And, I was working with a company yesterday and they were talking about the NorCal Service Champions, and I love it. They're the biggest ones up there. And I was like, I love that you think that, I love that you hear that, you say that, but like, tell me why. And they're like, well, we just see it. And I'm like, great. So you're seeing the brand, but like, what does it mean to you? And, they're like, well, there's people on their trucks. Yeah, because people buy from people, right? They're like, it's not that I don't believe in cartoons or whatever I do. They work if they have a story, but people do buy from people. And so even with those little stories of, what the technician does in the home, what the salesperson does in the home, what the CSR might have sent a really special note to somebody because they said, hey, my dad just passed away or my dog just passed away. Like those little moments matter so greatly in the customer experience. And so if there's anything that you take away from this podcast, which you will take away a lot, it's creating remarkable moments. And that helps your brand identity and growing and your reputation. And it feeds into everything that we do when it comes to the digital presence or just marketing in general. So yeah, you've had some great insights.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to look at the identity of your company. Because I'll tell you this, before I started working with Service Champions and I was only working with Ryzen, Mark Aiken came to me one day and he goes, and you got to know Mark. He's a very intense person from Philadelphia. He's like, hey, I want to start doing good deeds. And I go, what are you talking about? He's like, well, like if the technician comes and like there's a newspaper, they'll bring it to him, or they'll like take their trash can in, or if like they need a light bulb change, they'll change it. And I go, I don't understand. What are you talking about? And what I didn't know is that he had learned this from Leland at Service Champions, and he thought it was really cool. And I'm like, okay, yes, that's good, but you need to make this part of your company culture before we really start talking about it. Otherwise, this is going to be this weird thing. And he's like, oh, yeah. And they started moving in that direction. But, whatever it is that you do that you're good at, that you lean into, find a story and talk about that story and repeat those stories and find different ways to tell those stories. If you're on radio and television, it's a great way to get your story out. If you're not, write those up on blogs and put them on your website so that you can reference them to people, so that people will see them when they're, finding you online. And build a brand, man, around your identity.
Yeah. I love that. So we're going to wrap up here. If you had any solid advice to give to our listeners today that you have not given, what would it be? And then tell me how people can contact you.
Yeah, I think I just gave it, which is figure out what your identity is. Look, I'm not trying to sell a book, but if you want to either go listen to my podcast, Level 10 Contractor Daily Podcast, or this book is called Unlocking Unlimited Lead Flow. I think there's about 70 pages on identity. You really need to figure this out because it does become the hub of all your marketing, whether it's your sales team, whether it's your the way that you answer the phone and you set appointments, your SEO, your website, your TV, your radio, all the different things will pull from this identity. So I think we kind of started, with the SEO and web conversation, and then we came back around to the identity. They're vital. This identity concept is vital. So if people want to reach out to me, here, can I make your audience an offer? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Go for it.
I talked earlier about the website audits, and I said that our typical score is 27. If you'll go to my website, level10contractor.com, that's 10 with a 10, level10contractor.com/audit. You can request a website audit. We'll audit your website. We'll see how you score. And if it's terrible, wouldn't you at least want to know that? And if it's good, then, more power to you. Keep being awesome. So, but that also is our website address, level10contractor.com. Or people can email me directly at Rich, R-I-C-H, not Rick, Rich at level10contractor.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on today and for all of the great content. I really appreciate having you just be, a good friend and appreciate you just in general. So with that, thank you for listening. And if you like what you hear or want to leave feedback, go ahead and drop a comment for us. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Talk to you later.